Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacey and Phil Thompson.
Hey folks, and welcome to another brand new edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacey.
And I'm Phil Thompson. We are with a company called JSL Solutions. We bring you this podcast usually every week, and we are a tech company. Very quickly, just in case we have some first-time listeners, what is JSL Solutions and what do we offer, Steve?
So we serve the church only with StreamingChurch.tv, Church App Live, myflock.com, and our new product, Greeter.church.
Greeter.church, a new product. And you always seem like you can't remember what we do. Every time I ask you this.
I got to think about it.
It's like, what is it our company does? Yeah, so we have 4 products now. Sorry. I was giving you a hard time. And the newest one is Greeter.church.
Yes.
Which, if you want to find out what that is, just type in your browser, Greeter.church.
Yes.
That's all you need.
Check it out. I had a pastor friend of mine send me an email and says, "Is this a greeting card tool?" I'm like, no. This is not a greeting card system.
No, it's a deal. It's you can take a snippet of code, put it on your website, and we will
man your site,
woman
your site.
We
will be a professional greeter.
Right. So when people come to the site, and if they have any questions, we can respond to them. You can fill out just a short little form that kind of tells us who you are as far as what your church is, denomination, some ministries that you have,
right,
and maybe some
that way people. We're equipped to answer the questions for you.
We can answer many of the questions, and if we can't answer a question, we can certainly take that down, and then you would get somebody at your church, or somebody would get a
right.
contact from us saying this person wants to know.
Yeah, personal touch for your church, and as we are coming to recognize that more people are probably going to visit your church website this week than will visit your church this weekend.
Right. And we've talked about that before. Lots of people will, check out your website, and you get that happening all the time. And we also provide stats, right? If you use Greeter.church every week, you'll get some stats.
Who came, when, where they came from.
Yeah.
A bunch of little stats, what kind of device they were on. Lots of little stats that all come as part of the deal. Yeah,
helpful information. So, and it's free right now. It's free. So just go to Greeter.church and you can create a free trial, and you have questions, we'll be glad to help you with that. So, all right, so that's one of our products.
All right, so what are we talking about today?
So today is very timely. It's the Christmas season right now, and I thought it would be good for us, even though we're a tech-related company. You and I have been involved in church work and ministry for many, many years. You've been on leadership teams and boards, and so have I.
You've been a senior pastor for
many years.
Senior
pastor and
a church planter and a church grower, and
I've done all that.
A executive pastor at another church.
Yep, and I'm actually doing a little part-time gig for a church as an executive pastor, even as we speak. So I thought it would be timely to talk a little bit about why some pastors struggle during this time of the year.
During Christmas.
During the Christmas season. And so here's the deal. If you are obviously listening to this podcast because you're involved in your church, either as a volunteer or a leader, maybe you are a pastor. If you're a volunteer, I'd encourage you to listen for the next few minutes a little bit, because sometimes you don't quite understand fully what pastors go through.
Yeah, so we're going to go through the 10 things that
I've got 10 things here,
that pastors struggle with.
Yeah, and if you are a pastor, I'd encourage you to listen too, because maybe you're going through some of this. Maybe you never have, but chances are you've tasted a little bit of it perhaps, and maybe you've got some friends in ministry as well. So this would just be good to get an idea what pastors go through. So let's just jump into it, shall we?
So yes, number 1, the season feels like it goes on for too long.
So,
humbug, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's today, shopping malls are decorating for Christmas right after Halloween, and churches do many times as well. And so we have, especially if you've got a Christmas Eve service or going on, so you've got practice rehearsals, presentations.
Yeah, my wife used to do the children's
I
play.
remember that.
And so practice for the children's
Yeah.
play actually starts, well, at our church, it started in August. And I know that, and that's a long time. You think, well,
It's a
it's
long
gotta,
time.
why are we starting this in August for a Christmas play?
Yeah.
But one of the churches that we have a relationship with here in town used to have for many years an annual Christmas deal.
I know.
And one of the key people that is responsible for it, they say they start the next year's Christmas one as soon as the one that's ongoing is over. So in January, they start planning and preparing for and start rehearsals and all that sort of thing in January for their Christmas.
That's just crazy. But
So but they decided, kind of along these lines, they're going to take a year off. So it's the first time in many years they're taking a year off, and they aren't doing their annual Christmas deal.
Well, and this is part of the deal. If you're involved in leadership as a pastor, all this stuff is happening behind the scenes many times, and it just feels like this thing goes on, and it can lead to burnout and depression and what have you. So a season feels like it goes too long. Another reason why pastors struggle
is the season is nonstop, which this kind of ties in, but this is really just about the busyness associated with the season. So not only do you have things going on in your church, but you got things through family and whatever. You've got actually we're having our Christmas celebration for our company that's going on this week. So there's just a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, my wife is working for my old radio station, and they're having a Christmas party this week as well. And my church has a leadership team staff Christmas thing coming up next week. There's just stuff going on. So the season, it seems like it's nonstop, and it's very difficult, especially if you're a lead person at your church, pastor, kind of expected to be there, and it can really burn you out.
Right. So number 3, are we ready to move on?
Yes, we are.
So family time can get sidelined.
Well, this is, I'm feeling this already, and I'm just doing some part-time stuff as an executive pastor. Family time, it's a time, ironically, where the season with family is supposed to be important, but because of church stuff and getting ready for all the events and sermons and Christmas Eve messages, it requires a lot of focus if you're the senior guy, and even the staff for that matter. And many times families, well, they're on the back burner.
Right.
That's a bummer too. It's
So
very unfortunate.
Yeah. You definitely got more to do. It's not just your typical month.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. The other one, fourth one, would be the needs around us are often more emphasized.
So what do we mean by that?
Well, like even our church, we have a little deal for the homeless and people less fortunate. So there's a box. And so there's a lot of emphasis on community needs during this time of the year. And hopefully your church is involved in your community to some degree. And because of that, you've got hunger issues, homelessness, poverty things for kids that are hurting. And those, they're all very important. But again, these needs kind of get magnified. And if you're the senior leader, senior pastor of your church, it kind of goes back to you in some ways.
Kind of can wear you out as well a little bit.
Feel like you've got this burden, and again, it may be just perceived, but it's still there.
Right.
And so needs around us are more emphasized, and you begin to feel the pressure if you're a pastor.
Exactly. I know our church is doing every Christmas, and many churches do this. They do an outreach kind of, just like you said,
right.
Put together a special contribution. There's all kinds of neat ideas that people do with that, but it's really emphasizing the needs around us.
Yep.
When we're the pastor in the middle of this, all getting worn out. So,
many times that can happen.
All right.
Move on.
Moving on. Number 5. Christmas sermons sometimes feel stale. So this is an area I have never had to work on. So I've never presented a Christmas message, but you have.
Yeah, I have many times, and the sermons sometimes begin to feel stale when you're working on them. We obviously emphasize that God's word is never stale, but sometimes when you're trying to present things to people, you're trying to present a Christmas message, sometimes you feel like I'm just doing this all over again.
The pressure's on, right? Because we're going to have all those families coming that only come Christmas and Easter. So this one's got to be the real winner message, right?
Yeah,
so,
it does put burden on you. It puts pressure on you, and so a lot of times you have this feeling that you just feel inadequate. And so you're trying to find, well, is there a new approach I can do here? How can I do this to make things seem, fresh and So, and a lot of this is you put on yourself as a pastor, but it's still, nonetheless, you're still dealing with this. And this is why many pastors struggle. These things we're talking about, they struggle during this time of the year. They feel burned out. They feel pressure. They feel depressed sometimes.
All right. So, number 6, the season can give rise to controversial issues. What are some of those controversial issues we're referring, or what?
So, depending, everybody probably has to deal with this to some degree, some more than others. Maybe your church puts a Christmas tree up, and there are some Christians who feel like Christmas tree, that's a pagan celebration.
Right. I remember going to actually a Christmas party with some of the elders of my church. This is back in California. And the wife of the elder had a real problem with Xmas. They wouldn't. The X in
some people spell out Christmas.
Some people spell out they don't spell out Christmas. They just put Xmas, and she was really upset about the use of Xmas.
Yeah.
So
you're trying to leave Christ out of Christmas.
I guess. I don't know.
That's their argument. What they don't understand is the X is the Greek for Christ.
Oh, okay.
It's the letter for Christ in Greek.
Yeah. So there are. Yeah. Those are just a couple of the controversial issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it only takes one or two people. Here's the deal. And those listening here who are in pastoral ministry can relate to this. And probably some volunteers, but it only takes one or two of these kind of people that just kind of, especially if you're tired and you're worn out, and you get one or two of these kind of people that are just complaining about these things, just gets on your nerves.
Yeah.
And chances are you're not going to have a lot of these people in your church, but you probably got one or two of them. We used to have a guy, he'd never showed up for Christmas. This is like 30 years ago at the church I was working with. He was one of our key people. He during the month of Christmas, during the month of December with Christmas stuff, he wouldn't show up. Didn't believe in Christmas.
Oh, really?
Didn't believe in celebrating Christmas.
Oh, because it was
it's same thing, kind of a pagan. He was a businessman here in town. I think he's retired now, but he had a travel agency here in town. Used to advertise with the radio station I was with. But because Christmas, according to some people believe Christmas is a pagan holiday. I mean, let's be honest. Jesus was probably not born December 25th.
No, it was.
And you can, and I'm sure there's people even listening to this podcast might even say, why are we doing this? Because Jesus never told us to celebrate his birthday. See what I'm saying? So you get all these things, and again, you may feel that way, but if your church is kind of going along with the Christmas scene, I have always found that these kind of holidays, even though technically they might not be biblical, they're still great opportunities to reach people.
Oh, yeah.
Because people, because of traditions and stuff, will come to your church on Christmas.
Yeah, people will come on Christmas that normally won't come to church.
So, the argument of, we should be doing things that are biblical, this is what I'm getting at. This is what not a lot, but there are people, probably at least one or two in every church, that would say, hey, this is crazy, we're doing this. And, some of the times I agree with them on some of the stuff. I mean, my goodness, all the money we spend, and there's a lot of, negative side.
So there can be some controversy that arises during
absolutely.
This time.
And so those things, again, what I'm getting at is every complaint robs a pastor of one more ounce of joy. He goes, no, I got to put up with this person. So just throwing that out there.
All right. Okay. So that was number 6.
Yeah.
So number 7, we just talked about that the positive is visitors show up on Christmas, but a lot of people leave town.
Yeah, some people do leave town. We're, of course, here in sunny Tucson, Arizona, and so we tend to have a lot of people that come in town to visit family because, hey, it's Tucson. it's 72
warm.
degrees.
Yes.
But there are people that leave, you're going, well, you're going to be here for Christmas, but you're leaving a week before.
Right.
You're going to see your son in Denver.
Yes.
So you're going to deal with the snow and the weather there. But
oh boy, yeah.
There are people that show up, and then there are a lot of people sometimes that are gone. And sometimes your crowds can be a little lower, at least during maybe before and after. I mean, your Christmas Eve service might be hopefully pretty crowded, but maybe the Sunday before, especially the Sunday afterwards, sometimes can be very thin. And then you start, and one of the things pastors do, and I'm just, I've been in this, wearing this hat for a long time, is, we say numbers don't matter, but when you get up and you stand up in front of people and the crowds are down, you're like, why are people not coming? Is it because of me? Do they not like what we're doing? And it does kind of get to you a little bit.
Right.
And so I'm just being honest. I mean, everybody wants to speak in front of a full house.
Yeah.
We want people to come. We want people to enjoy the church. We want them to experience God's love, not just about me as a pastor, but, about the overall package. Right. And when numbers are down, it can get to you.
Right. So that's number 7.
Yeah.
Number 8, the holiday is not a holiday for everyone to whom we minister.
Well, the point with this is, sometimes holidays are sad times for people. They bring back, maybe sad memories because they've lost a loved one.
Right.
Maybe they've lost a child. Maybe they've lost a parent. And maybe they even lost it during that time of the year. Maybe somebody unfortunately passed during the Christmas season, And so, they grieve.
Yeah. And there's a big emphasis on the family during this time. And so people are reflecting on, their family and any losses or things that have gone on.
And so while it's designed to be a cheery, happy, joyful time, there are some people that need ministry in your church. And maybe even you as a pastor, or a key person, they're suffering loss or something. And it can be, and the stats are out here. I was actually giving a message the other day. I think I was talking about hope. And during this time of the year, the suicidal rates traditionally go up.
Yes.
And people have anxiety issues during this time of the year.
Yeah, it can be a very stressful time.
It can be a hugely stressful. I was dealing with some stress last week. A lot of it was because I just had stuff going on. It wasn't necessarily because of the holiday, although some of that, I guess, does factor in. But it can be difficult. And so, again, as a pastor, you're kind of, in some cases, in many cases, you're the person that has to deal with some of this stuff. And we don't really we're giving you a list of why some pastors struggle during this year. We don't really have a list of solutions. But maybe here at the end when we get done here, we've got I can give you a few solutions that I have found have been helpful.
Okay, so number 9, it's the end of the year and many pastors can feel disappointed.
Yeah, and here's where I come from on this. As somebody, and it's not just the pastor, but if you're in leadership at your church, you've got big plans for the year, and here's what we're going to accomplish. Here's what we feel like God's telling us. Here's what we want to do. Here's our goals, and we kind of go through the year. And now it's December. It's getting towards the end of December. And you kind of look back and realize, we didn't accomplish this. We didn't grow as much as we thought, or maybe we lost traffic. Maybe we went down. Maybe numbers aren't as high as we thought, or we've lost some ground. Programs that we wanted to launch didn't work, or we had failures, which is very common. It's just part of life. And maybe we had key people in leadership that failed, or something happened. There was a tragedy in the church or something. And so a lot of times you're kind of, it's the end of the year. It's in December, and you're
starting to assess your year, and
you're like,
it's not as rosy as you would have hoped. Right? It can really stress you out.
Yeah, it can add to the stress, and add to the anxiety, add to the depression, and you feel stuck. Sometimes you feel, what am I doing here? We tried again, and we're not going anywhere. And there's answers to this, but we'll get in that in a minute. So,
all right. So number 10 on our list.
Number 10.
A new year will be starting soon, leading to feelings of being overwhelmed.
So this is kind of the flip side of the end of the year. You may feel discouraged because things didn't work out, but now you got a new year coming up and you're thinking, okay, we've got all these things that we need to do for 2016 or
at least I need to plan for the things I need to do.
Got to start planning. I've got to come up with, and normally if you're a pastor, you don't have to do the budget, but you're still probably involved in the budget.
Right.
As giving input and
setting goals for the coming year.
Yeah, and so you're looking at all these things, and for many pastors, the burden is placed on them to make things happen in their church,
So that combined with getting gifts for the family and going to all these parties and can become overwhelming.
Yeah, it can certainly be overwhelming. So we're talking about this today because, again, there's a couple of reasons. One, if you are a pastor listening to this, you just need to know you're not alone. If you're feeling this way, you're not alone. Maybe you've got a handle on everything and you're not having to deal with any of this stuff. But you're not alone, which is very important. Because when you tend to feel this way, depressed, or you feel like, oh,
I'm the only one. Everyone else is having such a great time.
Yeah. So you're not alone. And then the other thing is you really do need people. For me, I use the 3 R's when I get in, and I never really dealt with depression until probably about 10 years ago. I started to deal with it. Started to get burned out when I was a senior pastor, and I started to deal with it, and unfortunately, every once in a while, it pops back up on me. I mean, life is pretty good for us now, but I still deal with some of these issues. So there are 3 R's. I don't have them written down.
What are the R's?
So let's see if I can remember them. Rest, recreation, and relationships.
Oh, so that makes sense.
You do need to make sure you get rest. You might be saying, how am I going to do it? You just gave off a list of all these crazy things happening here in December. How am I going to get some rest? Well,
you need to schedule some rest.
You're going to have to schedule it. You're going to have to figure out a way to get some rest, delegate, do something, put it, have some other people involved, hopefully in your church, your leadership team that can take some of the burdens, but you've got to get some rest. Recreation is, to me, important. I don't know what you've got, if you've got a hobby or something, but you need to find time for it.
Or exercise in general too is always good for
and that's kind of, when I think recreation, I think exercise, but maybe some people it's sitting around playing a game or something on the computer, but I think exercise would be good.
Yeah, I know it's common for people that have been, say, laid off, or this is where they said, first thing they say is go exercise.
Yeah.
Say, get out there and get your exercise in. Otherwise, it's gonna really start tearing you down.
It really will. And even just going for a walk, if that's all you can do it. But do something where you get some recreation, which hopefully is part of exercise. I mean, my wife has back issues, so exercise for her is a challenge, but her recreation is playing a game on her phone, which, okay, that's fine. That's not something I would do, but if it helps her, that's fine, but so rest, recreation, and then relationships.
Yes.
And this is maybe one of the toughest things for people in ministry. I would hope that you have some friends.
Because they're alone at the top, you mean? Is that what you're saying?
A lot of times that can be the case, you know. It just depends on the church you've got and the type of church and the culture in your church. But I would really encourage you to connect with somebody. Hopefully you've got a friend or two, and spend some time with them. And again, I know it's the Christmas season. It's hard to do, but you've got to schedule some time for some relationships. If nothing else, your family. I mean, hopefully you're friends with your family, and you take some time away from the busy schedule and sit down and watch a Christmas movie together, maybe, or go out and go bowling or do something together.
That's a good prescription. The 3 R's.
Yeah, it's just
rest, recreation, and relationship.
Yeah, rest, recreation, and relationship. Yeah, something I think that would help.
And all pastors think in acronyms or similar letters, right? What do they call this?
A lot of the guys we hang out with do. But the funny part about it is the guy I work with, he doesn't like those kind of things, and so he doesn't like my sermon titles. But doesn't matter. But anyhow, So again, as we wrap this up here, if you want to add to this list, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this, why some pastors struggle during this year, during this time of the year. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get some feedback from you on this stuff. But my encouragement to you as we wrap up here is just, maybe say a prayer for pastors today. Maybe your pastor or people you know who are ministering, because it can be a little extra burden this time of the year. It can be a challenge. So anyhow, all right. So we've got a couple minutes. Want to encourage everybody to check out our podcast, subscribe to us. Your favorite, how do you put it? Your favorite podcast.
Your favorite podcast player.
You can find us Church Solutions Podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or one of those formats, platforms that we just mentioned. You can find us on YouTube. StreamingChurch.tv is, I think, the YouTube channel. And we generally put the audio version of this on YouTube. And then we're also on newmediaministries.tv, which is just a little simple blog that kind of lets you know if you want to be on our mailing list. Most people are, if you're listening to this, you probably are on our mailing list. But if you want to get on our mailing list, just send us an email, support@StreamingChurch.tv.
That'll work. Or they can sign up at StreamingChurch.tv on the website too. So
okay, yeah, they could, couldn't they?
That's right. Believe there's a link there.
Yes. Yeah, I think there is somewhere in there. Lots of information on our products on there. You mentioned Greeter.church. I encourage you to check that out. It's a brand new product, and it won't cost you anything. Just go to Greeter.church, and .church is actually a, what do you call that? A higher level domain. Top level domain.
TLD.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody. We're just about out of time, but this bears value in mentioning. Is a lot of people don't realize now that, especially if you're involved in ministry, there's more than just .coms and .orgs and .tvs. I mean, now you got what? .church.
I just learned a new one this week.
.faith.
.faith. Yeah, I wasn't aware that was out there.
Yeah, I was telling him about that. One of our customers was talking about that, and so there's lots of different
top level domains.
That's what you call it.
TLDs, yes.
Okay. So, you might want to consider that getting an extra domain or something this year.
Yeah.
And we can help you with that too.
Yeah, that's true.
Your one-stop shopping is with our company. We can do everything for you.
We can. We are the technical services for your church.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're out of time. Folks, thank you so much. We want to wish you a very happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. And we hope that you do have a good season this time of the year. We'll have a podcast next week. I think we will. And but if you miss us, we want to wish you all the best during this holiday season. And if we can help you, if anything, just let us know. Just send us an email, support@StreamingChurch.tv. Okay, so that wraps us up, right?
That should do it.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. He's Steve Lacey. I'm Phil Thompson. This is the Church Solutions Podcast. You have a great day. We'll catch you next time.